Oh, I'm such a mess. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I have the beautiful Traci Shannon with me here today. She looks like a ray of sunshine, as you can
Good
see.
morning.
And I'm over here looking like, in the dark.
No,
I don't know.
you look
Hey,
lovely. You're always
thank
lovely.
you. You too. So I'm really excited to be here because last week we did a social media breakfast and we had Neil Schaefer come and talk to us about working with influencers. But he was talking really about working with your customers and so on. And that was awesome. And he had some really great insights. And then we jumped on, Traci and I jumped onto Twitter Spaces and we had a conversation about that from the point of view of an influencer who Traci really is. She's been an influencer for a very long time, working in that field, like actually making money at it. So it's not, just a wannabe influencer. So we talked about that, and it was such a great conversation. We had a great group that showed up, and I thought we might want to record it. And so here we are today. So I asked her, would you be on my show this week? Because it was fresh in my mind, and I was thinking maybe we should do this. And secondly, I'm going to tell you that Traci also has her own company. She does her own consulting, but she also works for me. So I've hired her to work in my company as well. So you are a busy lady.
I am.
Yeah, you are.
My kids tell me that on the regular, that I'm too busy. So
so I wanted to start from the beginning, like we did on the Spaces, and say, how did you end up, stepping into being in the influencer area?
Reader's Digest version is that I started a blog mostly to as a release, both emotional and artistic. And I found a community of mostly moms that were having a similar experience. So it wasn't business minded at all. I know a lot of people start blogs now with that in mind. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't it for me. The business side came after. Mm-hmm. So it was very natural, but it was always with a very personal investment with it. So anything that I've ever worked with to influence, to share with my audience has always been something that I felt invested in. It's never been something very casual because I had already developed so much of a personal connection with my audience that they felt like friends, that mm-hmm. I would never share anything that did not feel like it's something that I would give to a neighbor friend, to a communal friend.
Yeah, that's really interesting too. And I think there's different levels of influencers too. So, we're not talking about like the 1 million follower influencer ecosphere here today. So I'm bringing this back down, and why I wanted to have Traci on is because she has done this and she's worked with big brands. She's worked with very big brands, no doubt about it. But she doesn't have like thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. She doesn't, and that's fine. But she's very influential in her area. She gets good engagement. She has people that trust her. She's a tastemaker. Maybe that's a good way to put it, right?
I think that's really an important point to bring out, because I would suggest that brands maybe stop thinking about the 100K and over influencers as being so influential, not to be a pun maker in the moment, because
okay.
I think people at this point, when they look on their Instagram and see that, it's the equivalent as an ad on TV. Mm-hmm. They don't think of those people as necessarily really using those products in their lives, because they know that they get thousands of products and that they get lots of money to do it. Mm-hmm. And it isn't that they're wrong and they're doing anything mm-hmm. wrong at all, but they know that they get so many opportunities that they can't possibly use everything on a daily basis, I guess is what I'm saying. Mm. That they may legitimately like the product and use mm. it, but it doesn't have the same level of purpose in their lives as someone who has, say, 5 to 25 to 50,000 followers. If they're promoting something to you, they probably actually value that because they may have taken it in lieu of payment or as partial payment. They put hours of work towards getting that product and some pay or something. So it has a more legitimate place usually in their life, a higher value in their life. So when they're sharing it with their audience, likely they're more connected with their audience, because just think of the ratio. And they're more likely to actually comment back to their audience when they ask a question about your product. I mean, let's be honest, Kim Kardashian is not likely to be able to reply to every question about a product. Whereas if you have 10,000, 50,000 followers, not all of them are going to reply a question. You're likely to be able to actually read your own comments and reply back personally. And therefore, you're getting a more legitimate, responsive engagement about your product. And so I think sometimes that the big brands now that realize that are actually getting a better quality influencer for their money than the big, I got an influencer that has 500,000 followers. That seems to be what everyone wants.
It's a reach thing. Yeah, it's a numbers thing too, plus because you have to go back and prove your ROI. So I'm coming from the brand point of view, so I'll kind of pull that out. Because I've worked with so many brands, helping them put together influencer programs over the years. And so one of the things that I know as a brand that I'm looking for, and I'm an agency, but for my brands, is people that have an authenticity around a specific thing. So I want to just kind of get into the tips because I think, we got to get through this pretty quick because we have half an hour and that's it. But we don't have as long as we had on Spaces the other day. But the first thing is to find up and coming influencers. And I have always looked, and Dave Sifry used to call it the magic middle. He was talking about bloggers back in the day, but those people that have a good following, they have great engagement. I'm looking for engagement. I'm looking for following. I'm looking for talent, like either a great writer, a great photographer, some kind of talent like that, or videographer, something that's going to bring people in, right? And that's great content. Because I kind of see influencers as contractors in some ways, because you are telling people that you're sharing that stuff. You are doing all of that. I mean, you have to 1099 them at the end of the year if you pay them. So I'm just saying, I feel like they're sort of like contractors in my mind. And so you need to find one that's authentic and maybe one that's already using the product. That was something Neil talked about. It's like, find people that are already using your product that have some influence, right?
Yes.
Has that happened to you?
Absolutely. I had a very long-standing relationship with Dr. Smith's diaper rash ointment. I was using it long before they found me. Another example is, very personally with SeaWorld. You found me because I wrote about my love of SeaWorld. They had a program where they gave a day's free tickets to a military family. I wrote about it because I loved organizations that took care of military families. I wrote about it long before I knew was any kind of influencer program. And then it turned out you had a influencer program locally for the San Antonio called Wild Side, which became a wonderful experience in my life. And I believe it was in Neil's book. So we talked about last week, but that was where I was writing around about it before, wasn't seeking out an influencer program. The influencer program found me.
Right. And since I was the one who found you, or well, actually probably Julie did, but we were working on we were listening, we were out searching for specific people that were talking about the brand in a way that was authentic. whether they, I mean, not everybody had talked about the brand specifically, but we wanted to know on a baseline. But for you, it definitely was because you talked about the brand specifically. And we did like the military family angle because we were looking for diversity in the types of people that we were choosing. So you came from a military family. We wanted to make sure that that was covered. We were looking for other kinds of diversity too in all of our coverage. So we wanted a lot of different viewpoints, I guess, so that when you bring a bunch of bloggers together or influencers or Instagrammers or whatever, and you give them an experience. So that would be the next thing, is that you want to create a reciprocal relationship with them. You want to make sure that something's in it for them and something's in it for you. And then there's and we'll talk about contracts in a minute, but there's a really great, thing there. And you want to make sure that you're finding people that have that authentic brand, that if you're bringing them together for an experience, you don't want it all to be the same experience.
Right.
Little kids, big kids, I'm thinking about SeaWorld right now, but anywhere, any kind of experience that you put together for influencers, you want to have a diversity of things that come out of that experience that speak to all different people. So that was sort of our goal, I guess.
SeaWorld was a pretty natural one for that because the park itself offers that. It has the Bay of Play, which is Sesame Street based, all the way up to some seriously scary roller coasters.
Yeah, there are. And I'm going to say that SeaWorld has a really great experience to it. So it's easier. So I'm sure some people are watching and thinking, well, I don't have an experience like SeaWorld, but let's go back to diaper cream.
Okay.
Because that's not, super sexy.
Well, one of the things that working with Dr. Smith's offered me, I got to travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Being an ambassador for them, I went to California, New York, Boston, Florida, really cool places. And they gave me time to visit. They didn't overschedule me. So
they don't know what you did when you got there. So tell them what you were actually doing.
That's fair. Well, they promoted their products at baby fairs and conferences, and I offered the mommy experience. They didn't feel like always hearing from professionals or people who clearly were that commercial experience we spoke of before. Absolutely. Was necessarily the most influential. They like to share why a mommy would choose this, or parent.
Now, were these trade shows for B2B, or were they more like trade shows for consumers?
Consumers mostly. Like those mommies to be, bellies in hand with the big bags that you get lots of samples. And I would tell them why I had chosen it. And I would explain that I was there because I had used it again before they ever approached me. And that was a big selling point. And so I got to travel. While I was paid some, my biggest thing was the experiential. I got to travel all over the country to really cool places, talking about something that I actually enjoyed talking about.
No, and it was great because it was novel because you were there. So this is a novel way to use influencers. We've done it too, taking them to a trade show or to an event, and then having them talk about the product there. So that works really well in B2B too. By the way, we've done it. Actually done it for our Texas Travel Talk blog, because we would take an influencer with us to a travel thing where the CVBs were, which is the Convention and Visitor Bureaus, and those were people that would hire us. So we'd go and we bring an influencer with us, and they talk about how they cover different things, and just meet with them, and it gave you credibility because they knew you had that ability to bring those influencers in and help it. Hey, Russ, I see Russ says hi. Anybody who's here, make sure you say hi to us. I'd love to know when you're here. So that's really number one. Find up and coming influencers, and influencers who are already customers or connected. So you get that authentic voice. I'm just going through my tips here so we make sure we get them all. 2, create a reciprocal relationship, like you were talking about the travel, the experiences. That was really important for you. The third one is create an influencer community.
Oh, yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because and I'll just tell, first of all, we talked about Wildside. So one of the things that we did do is we created a community of bloggers in all of Texas that were kind of in the same place. They were all blogging, or they were, using social media in different ways. And one of the things that we did in order to increase loyalty of the influencers to the program is we created a community. So can you talk a little bit about what that meant to you, or why that was important to you?
Absolutely. Second only to what the program had offered my family, which is something we could have never had, which is the annual pass to the park. For me, the blogging community was so incredible, because it expanded my world, both personally and growth-wise. I was still, I'd say, on the early side of my blogging. I had only been blogging altogether a few years, and probably doing it professionally only a couple of years. And there was a lot of, definitely more veteran and more well-known bloggers in the group, but they were very generous bloggers, and they loved sharing their knowledge. And we would do roundtables where we could go and learn from them, and then they would learn from others, because again, you had talked about how you looked for people who were photographers or writers. So being a diverse group, we had the opportunity to learn from each other. There wasn't like they all could do everything. So even if one was really great at, let's say, affiliate marketing or something, she might then want to go sit at the table and learn how to be a better photographer. And so that was so skill sharing was wonderful. And then there was also the cross promotion, and the cross promotion served both the bloggers, but it also helped the brand, because we were all lifting each other up, which included when we were sharing each other's posts. And that wasn't required by the brand, because we often wrote beyond the required minimum standard, because most of us were really psyched about being Wildsiders. We really enjoyed the park and the group. And so let's say maybe we were required to write 2 times a year and post such and such. Most of us wrote well beyond that. And then we all shared it. So this community lifting up, it's that, the rising tide. It was beneficial to all parties.
You know who's here?
Brenda, speaking of, yes, Wildside events were so much fun.
Yeah, Brenda, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. So yeah, I mean, but that really is, from a brand perspective, it's an investment. It's an investment to do that, but it pays off like in spades, and in loyalty. I mean, just there's the loyalty to the brand, which is really hard to get, to get loyalty. And I think, if you think about it, we still are, connected with all these people, like day to day. I know you are for sure, Traci. You work with people every single day that came from.
You saw my excitement at seeing Brenda.
Yeah, it's amazing. We love each other. It's truly a family. And that's
speaking of
really
loyalty, very quickly, it's also really good in a crisis management situation when you have people who are on your side, who can get on board and speak well of you.
Yeah, it was really important. It was like hugely important. So, Brenda, I'm so glad you're here. It's so good to see you. And also Jennifer's here. I just want to say that real quick, because Jennifer helped me start Social Media Breakfast. She was the co-founder. Hi. She's in California now. So I'm so excited to see you too, Jen. So yeah, that's the third point. I don't want to get lost in our points, but find up and coming influencers, create reciprocal relationships. Again, that's a community, and create an influencer community. If you can do a community, that's great. Now, it doesn't have to be one where you travel them all there. We did a lot of this stuff virtually.
Yeah.
We did virtual trainings. We did like a lot of things virtually. So you get bringing influencers together. There's a synergy that happens. They get excited to meet each other. They like to connect, and it's a good way to give them something else, them something else that's more than just money, right? So, and the less money you have, the more you should be like amping the experience. I'll just put that out there. So not all brands have thousands of dollars to get out, like, an Instagram post, $1,000 per Instagram post. But if you create something that's really valuable, both for the brand and for the influencer, you can pay them, what you can afford, depending on who they are, right? So,
well, and micro influencers are going to appreciate if they're getting shared more and given more community. If you don't have as much money, that is valuable to them.
Yeah. Oh, Jen says she's doing this right now. Good. I'm glad. You we'll have to have you on once you have some results. We can talk about it. I'd love to. So create an influencer community. 4, compensate them and require disclosure. So FTC rules, guys, you have to disclose. Most people don't want to. I know you don't want to put the little ads, hashtag, I get it. But honestly, it's you have to. So that's number 1, disclose and create and compensate them, because they are working for you. They are creating content. And we'll talk about the contract in a minute, but as they're working for you, you want to make sure that you compensate them appropriately.
Yes.
So I think we've already said enough about that, because we've talked about different ways you can compensate them and all that. But
I'm going to value them is the biggest thing I would just add, is that they are working. Don't poo-poo what they do. They do give time to what they do.
Yeah, a lot of time. A lot. You said the other day, like if you're going to put together, something for Instagram, a photo and this and that, you're going to spend like a couple of hours on that.
I would say a minimum of 4 hours is what I give a post.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a ton. So think about that. Would you work for nothing for like 4 hours of work? That's just getting a product, setting it up, using it, dealing with it, taking a picture of it, putting it on. Like that's just one Instagram post.
Right.
So, they may spend days on these projects. And so you want to make sure that you are compensating them appropriately and that you have the things in place for disclosure. And that being said, contracts are huge. I would not work with an influencer without a contract. We never work without a contract. So, how do you feel about that, Traci? Does that bother you that people make you sign these contracts?
No, not at all. I much rather understand the expectations beforehand, because I feel protected by a contract as well. If I have a contract, then they can't add an expectation after the fact, as well as they can't. It makes it clear for everyone. They can't add an expectation, and they can't lessen what they say that they owe me, and vice versa. It holds me accountable, holds them accountable. There's no questions. And because sometimes people forget, honestly, we can all make mistakes. And if it's in writing, we're clear.
Yeah, clarity and not overly prescriptive. So that was one of the things that we've worked on very hard. I know with our influencer contracts, they still own their own content. Most influencers that have been in the business any sort of period of time, we're going to insist that they own their own content. So they're not going to do a work for hire, which is like where you have an employee. When you have an employee, they're work for hire. That means they do something for you, you own it because they're your employee, right? But this kind of contract, we say we have perpetual worldwide licenses and a bunch of other things. There's some contract language you can put in. And then we also talk about being able to use it, like where can we use it? And often, influencers will say you can use it, but just tag, I want to be credited in some way.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, because that brings me to the other side, is that brands often don't share the content that people made for them on their own channels, which is like, I don't even understand it. I don't understand why people don't do it, except for maybe they have 2 different teams and getting them to.
I think that's it.
It's hard.
I think that's what it is. I think a lot of times it's with large brands where they have a local team, or more they hire an outside team that's local to do this project, and it's not communicating with what is probably a large New York or LA agency that just doesn't even care. To them, it's not.
So true.
I mean,
So
just
true.
honestly, just doesn't care. It's small potatoes to them. It's silly. They should care
Mhm.
because the whole point of them investing any money was that those were, it was an audience that obviously mattered to someone. But to them, it's back to that numbers game. They care more about reach than engagement. And they value the big numbers rather than the trade, the value of the trade. So I think that's probably where it comes from.
Yeah, it is. And I think, one of the things that's they kind of, I think brands kind of don't understand is that kind of content is more relatable. So they may actually get a bigger reaction on their own channels with the relatable content. That I know they're trying to reach the idea I think is we're trying to reach other channels through influencers. Look, this is our channel, and then we're trying to reach these other channels.
Like, look at when Wendy's or something like responds to something funny that somebody who has like 100 followers, they just happen to catch, and they retweet it or respond it, and all of a sudden it goes viral. Why? Because that guy was real. Okay. It wasn't some marketing guy who came up with something. That guy said something real about Wendy's, and it took fire because how many people actually think that every day about Wendy's? It's the same thing. And it's why there's value to actually retweeting or sharing that curated content at that low level, because it reflects more about probably what real people are thinking.
No, I agree. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, I can't believe we zoomed through half an hour, not even joking.
Wow.
So one of the things I'm going to say, we have 5 more things to do. Maybe we should do a second one about like what influencers should do, but we're going to do a blog post. You're going to do a blog post.
I am.
I'm going to share it. But I am going to read off the ones that you said last week, just so that these are from Traci, but she doesn't have them in front of her. So I'm going to help a little.
Thank you.
Sorry. So, these are your words exactly. So these are Traci's words. So if you just like move your mouth like you're talking, and yeah, exactly. So these, I have them here. So first one for influencers, if you are an influencer, her tips are to be authentic, be a unicorn. I love the unicorn. What does that mean to you?
Just, it's okay to stand out. The horses, the unicorn's never going to be able to hide, right? Because they've got that extra.
Yeah, absolutely. Be authentic. You don't have to be like perfect and all. You talked a lot about not the lack of, letting perfection go, being your crazy, zany self. It's good. Engage with other like-minded influencers. We talked about that. That's number 2. That's really great. And if you don't have it through a brand, you can make it for yourself. And you have. She's got a cool group on Facebook called, I don't know what it's, under 40 or 40 and over. What do you call it?
Influencers over 40, which
influencers over 40. I love it. I was like, I'm going to check myself into the geriatric group. I did that right away. You know that, right? I did. So I checked into that group. So definitely check out say it again.
Influencers over 40.
So if you're an influencer and you're over 40, search that up on and tell Traci that you're coming in because you heard about it on this live stream. Okay. Number 3, follow and engage with brands you want to work with. So smart.
Absolutely.
That's how you got a lot of your work. Truly.
Yeah. And don't ask for anything for a while. Just engage with them, like them, show them you really like their product.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it makes it more authentic too, because it is a product you actually like and want. I think that's important. I like this one. Be a conversationalist, not an exclaimer.
Yes.
What's an exclaimer?
It's just, hey, I posted something. You never hear from me except I want you to come to my post because I put it here. I never come to you. I never talk with you. I never reply to you, but you should let me tell you this.
Yeah.
That's what most people use social media for. Exactly.
Well, Eric Tun just came and said hi. He's exclaiming for us.
Hi, Eric. We love Eric so much.
See the exclamation point?
I do. I do.
But it's a conversationalist exclaiming.
Right. Especially on Twitter, people. Twitter is a conversation.
It is. Yeah, truly. And then the fifth one, which is, I mean, your mama told you, be kind.
Always.
5, be kind. So
maybe we'll do a second. We'll do a follow-up. We'll do the influencer side.
We'll have to do the influencer side, and maybe we can get a few more people on. Maybe we'll have like, maybe we'll do that on Instagram, like with the 4, the Brady Bunch screen.
That would be fun. We could probably we could tag people.
Yeah, we could tag
a lot of people we could tag.
That would be fun. Maybe we'll do that. Let's do that. Okay, so we have a plan, guys. We have a plan, but we're out of time, and I know you guys have work to do, and so do we. And I have to deal with this guy who's trolling my son on.
Oh, yes.
Texts. So I've got somebody took over my son's.
But this was awesome. Thank you for inviting me.
Cool, guys. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions about influencers, working with them as a brand, or working with them, or if you are an influencer or want to be one, just reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you about it. Certainly, you can do this for any kind of niche. So I'll leave you for this one thing. Usually, I always say you have to be an influencer for something that you are great at. So I could probably be an influencer for any kind of tool, like any kind of app. Like if you want me to try it out, and like, this is something I'm like super passionate about, number 1. But number 2, sometimes if you just have the right passion about something, or it's the right niche, for some reason, it'll work. So I was on Twitter the other day. I'm just going to tell you the story. And I saw in one of my groups that I've been following, a guy say, I hate stripping all of these leaves off of vegetables, not vegetables, but, thyme and things like that. And I said, oh, there's probably a tool for that, because that's what I always think. I always think there's a tool for that. So I went over to Amazon real quick and I searched it up, and there was definitely a tool. It was this cool thing, and it had all these little holes on it, and you just pull them through. And I was like, oh, that looks super cool. I am an Amazon affiliate, but I didn't grab an affiliate link because I thought that was like a little rude. So I took a screenshot of it. I came back and I said, hey, you should buy something like this. They were in the UK. He goes, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. And then somebody else said, oh, I'm going right now to buy that. And then before it was done, 6 people bought that tool. I'm not joking. I don't know how that happened, but 6 people bought that tool because I just reached out. So one of the things I always say to brands is you should be searching the problem that your customer might have.
Yes.
So that you can be there in the real time.
Like a solution.
Hey, yeah, 6 people bought that thing. I was like, why didn't I use my affiliate link? Anyway, 6 people, just like that. So I would just say, look for opportunities to help people with your brand. Yeah. And that might give you a chance to become, to find people that are influential. Because this guy, obviously, a lot of people followed him. So when he decided he liked it and bought it, everybody else bought it. It was great. Yeah. I was like repping the brand, and I didn't even I don't know. So anyway, all right, guys, that's it. That was my story for the day. All right. I'll see you guys next Thursday. We'll be back here 9 o'clock next week talking about something. I haven't decided yet, but we'll be talking about something amazing that has to do with social media and how you can make your brand better with social media. So come on back, 9 o'clock Central Time on Thursdays. Bye.
Bye, guys.